right, guys, our first case study would be Spear One Productions. So their three main business um, aspects would be party planning, community involvement, and marketing. Um, I think some of the stuff that some of the jargon that might be able to be an issue would be some of the stuff that the buyer might not understand what we do. So when we say this stuff, they're not sure what we're giving them. So just like the relationship facilitators or the relationship partnerships or the strategic partnerships, they're not really sure what they're getting out of that. So that could be a big thing where they're still kind of confused because they're coming in kind of suspicious in the first place. So if they're not able to understand what we're trying to give them, I think they might kind of even backed up in the corner and still be really suspicious of us instead of feeling comfortable with this. So some of the techniques that I would actually use to be able to make them feel, of course, comfortable is I would try to give them as much information and as much detail on what we do as a company to be able to make them buy into us. Also, I can give them data of how many events we've thrown, what the companies that we threw parties for or events for, what have they grown from that one event. So all that data should be able to make them feel a little more confident, have a little more buy-in with us, and be able to give us a little more instead of kind of being standoffish. With the more data and the more information we give them, it does have more of an impact on the decision that they make. Case study number 2 will be McLean Properties Real Estate. So, of course, the three buyers aspects would be location, analyzation, and then multitasking. Location, of course, they're real estate companies, so they look at locations on a daily basis and find what is best in what's growing, right? They try to find the best place, what's going to be in 5 years, what's going to be, they're going to start developing before it starts going up in price. And that goes into analyzation and be able to make sure they can tell what's going on in the future and be able to have different ideas of what they're looking for when they're finding real estate properties. And then multitasking because they handle different things with retail, restaurants, corporate offices, just different kind of places. So they're going to have to multitask at all times, and they're working on different deals and not just one. So some of the jargon that might be able to confuse people is the geodemographics, the site selection team, and the RFP. I think if you're not familiar with, real estate, I think that's one of the issues that, kind of might, hey, what is that? So going into more detail on kind of what we do and kind of how we figure out stuff. And, I think that's a main key. And some of the techniques I would use would, I would explain that we work with one of the biggest companies. We work with a lot of big companies, and they're the best in the industry as well. So they might be a smaller business that we're trying to get, and if they see a bigger company is using us, they might feel a little more confident, and then they'll be able to buy into our product or buy into our whatever we're trying to sell, as in the buildings and different stuff like that. And then just again, making sure that we tell them how proud we are of working at the company, because then they start feeling the same kind of emotion, and how can you get them to that point and be able to use those keywords is important. In case number 3, we're going to talk about Dart paper products. Their 3 buyer aspects would be environmental friendly, profit and loss, and food vendors, of course. Environmental friendly just because the products they use, they put a lot of thought into it to make sure that it's safe for the earth, or safer for the earth than most products that people use. Profit and loss because they worry about other people's margins. So they want to try to get as much money in as they can and not lose, so they try to make it profitable as well. And then just food vendors, they worry about a ton of food vendors like restaurants, caterers, vendors, just anybody who uses, paper products to be able to serve food is somebody that they're going to be able to look for and be able to sell to. Some of the big words that they kind of use or the jargon that might confuse people is they use a lot of environmental friendly words. So if you don't know them, like MSW, methane gas, biodegradable, global warming, I think that might kind of spook some people and might not want to get them to come to the company because they don't understand the difference between our products and somebody else's products. So I think just going into a good detail of what the difference would be compared to somebody else's products and what our products are made of compared to other people's products, it's gonna be huge, and it's gonna be able to make that buyer kind of buy into it instead of saying, hey, we're kind of happy with our products. Now they're gonna feel a little more confident in doing that. I think with the buyers buy language is kind of they don't need us. They're very ignorant, so they don't need us. They're kind of happy with their products. So what I would do is I'll explain to them, why our products are different. So going back to, ours are biodegradable, they're better for the earth. Your products are going to in the waste right now, and ours would go somewhere else and kind of go into the ground. And then also how much they can save going with our products, because I think money speaks, especially with products a lot of times, especially if you have the same kind of quality on top of that and then be able to save some money. I think that's going to be really huge and be able to kind of get them to be able to buy into what I'm trying to sell them, and then also just make them feel comfortable. When somebody's very standoffish, they don't really like to give a lot of information. So making them feel comfortable, letting them open up, and being able to find out what really they're looking for in our products, and being able to explain to them that our products, can do a lot more than what their products already do. And then also explain to them that we're the second largest company, paper company. And that's going to go a long way in kind of building that reliability and kind of understand like, hey, we're really what we say we are, and there's a reason for it. Yeah, those are the things I would use.